One of the important things, like noting like who might be watching this, is like, I don't want this conversation to totally be focused around just design. These principles and like what I've done here can really be applied to any sort of like mainly digital skill, whether it's marketing, copywriting, maybe you're running social media for a brand or something like that, and it's small. Like any of this stuff can be technically what I call productized, which just basically means selling it off the shelf, right? So instead of filling out a form on a website, getting a quote, jumping on a call, having 3 or 4 meetings to discuss pricing and proposals and estimates and that sort of stuff, it's just you go to the website, you buy the service, you pay for it then, and then you can consume it. So it's really, I like to call it like lowering the TTV, which is time to value. So when you purchase, getting that thing back as quickly as you possibly can. In my case, it's design work. In somebody else's case, it's a blog post copy or something like that. I think it's the model that serves that best in terms of lowering that TTV, which I think is key more now than ever. A lot of companies value speed over quality, as weird as that is to say. So that's where DesignJoy comes in, and this whole model really, I think, flourishes. So I run what is now, called a productized design agency. So basically selling design services via subscription. I guess one of the more notable things is I do it all by myself. So I've been running it since 2017. Do about $1 million a year via that, just myself. So there's very little costs involved, and other than the time that I invest in the startup. Yeah, so it's what I do. I do design work for software, product, branding, like you name it, I do it. I keep a certain number of clients at a time on basically a retainer, and that's that. So
okay, so 2017, what prompted you to launch this?
Yeah, so the company that I worked for, they were hugely disrupted by Uber and that whole boom. It was a transportation company, and I saw the writing on the wall. So while I knew I had time, I started building something on the side just as a safety net. And actually, story goes, on a Friday, I had the idea. On a Saturday, I built the thing in Webflow. On a Sunday, I launched it on Product Hunt. And on Monday, my life was not ever the same. That's the way it went.
Yeah.
It was that quick, just like a few days. And then,
did you have an audience then?
No audience. Nope.
Nothing.
I was completely anonymous. Nope. No audience. I literally shared my story on forums. That's it.
Yeah. Explain to people what Product Hunt is if they're not familiar.
Yeah. So Product Hunt is, it's primarily for tech products. There are some physical products on there, but essentially what you do is it's called an upvoting system. So every day the list refreshes and you could submit your startup to it, your product, whatever it is. And in my case, I had to get friends and family to upvote me. And the more upvotes you get, the closer to the top you get. And the closer to the top you get, you might go on the homepage, right? And there's people like me who are product obsessed. We like to discover new products. We like to figure out what's next and what's new. So we go to Product Hunt as consumers to check out what the new products are. Well, if your product happens to be there, you get quite a bit of hits. Usually you get instant customers with it, and it's totally free. You just have to have the network of people to upvote it. In my
personal
case,
network.
literally, it was yeah, my personal network was my friends and family I went to school with on Facebook. That was all I had at the time. And I got DesignJoy to $1 million a year that way before I even started tweeting. I started tweeting 4 or 5 years after I built DesignJoy. So
how high up on Product Hunt's list that day did you reach?
Number 4. Yeah.
Number 4. How many were you competing with that day?
Total numbers from that day, the unique website visits were about 36,000, which for me from starting just the day before was insane.
To your page, you had 36,000?
To my page, 36,000 unique
all
visits.
Spurred from your just friends and family from a hometown, Newburgh, Missouri, 500 people.
Yep. Yeah, 36,000 uniques. I can't remember quite the exact figures on revenue. I think it was about $10,000 the first day was I gotten what you would call reoccurring revenue. It's a little early when on the first day to call it reoccurring because you don't quite know how it's going to go, but it's technically reoccurring. So about 10K, and then I rode that wave for about a year at that level because it was side income for me. As the story goes, I held my full-time job until I was making $80,000 a month, and then I quit. So
80,
and I was making 70. And I was making $75,000 a year at the other job. So
oh my gosh,
they kept giving me raises and raises and raises to get me to stay. So I was like, okay, at this point, I'm only working. Like I did most of my DesignJoy work like during my meetings that I had at that job. So I was managing both. Very simple. I mean, I took on as much as 50 clients at a time at DesignJoy. So like one one client at my full-time job is literally peanuts to me, you know? So it's super, super easy. I can get it all done. So yeah, I kept a full-time job for 4 years while running Design Joy.
So you were making more per month in profit than you were per year from your full-time job that you held at the same time?
Yes, I was by about 5K.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Hey, YouTube's fine, but what about when you're driving around? What about when you're mowing the lawn? You need my audio podcast, The Koerner Office. Just look up TKO Pod in Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Anyways, I quit my job, and then 2 months later, revenue doubles from 80 to 160K. And that's when had my first like, oh crap moment. What do I do here? How do I manage this? And then I had breakdowns. I had price increases. Every time I would double my price, I thought this will finally like curb the demand, but it just exponentially increased it because it just put me into another category, which is a lot of things people don't understand about pricing that I had to learn. And then, yeah, so I stayed at that for a while, worked myself literally into a hospital, like almost to death. Like I was dying. I was working so much. And then, yeah, right now though, I've gotten my systems faster. I've gotten better at what I do, more selective with my clients. And so now I have a very easy life. I work less than a full-time designer. So
what were you charging per month per client those first few years?
Ooh, good question. So I started out at a measly $449 a month, day one.
Wow. For unlimited design.
Unlimited design, one at a time. I hit my first big wave. That increased to $849 a month. And then I went from that to $1,299 to $2,500 to $3,200 to $4,000 to $5,000 to $6,000 all the way up to $8,000. And I kind of dialed it back a little bit. So every time I felt like I was hitting a wall and wanted to shut things down, my gut reaction was just like, I'm just going to increase prices and see what happens.
Yeah. How many hours a week are you working?
Now it's about probably 30.
Okay. And what is your net profit per month nowadays?
So it varies. So one thing about my business is MMR, monthly recurring revenue, like it swings a lot. Like I can have $50,000-$60,000 a month swings. And one of the reasons is because you have churn, you have people pausing. So on average, it's about $70,000 to $80,000 a month. My total expenses outside of taxes, which I won't include in this conversation because they're pretty astronomical in my sense, because I don't really have many expenses. Outside of taxes, it's probably about $1,000 a month in expenses.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's wild. So you have $40,000 months, you have $120,000 months, but you're netting out, averaging out $60,000 to $80,000 a month, which is basically net profit.
Yep. It's been as low as 40,000 per month. It's been as high. I think the peak was 200,000 a month, but it usually averages somewhere in the 60 to 80,000 a month, but you'll get those peaks and valleys.
You might not know this, but this is not my full channel. If you want to watch the full episode of the segment that you just saw, go ahead and check this out or the link in the description.